What's going on, everybody? So now that the football season is here, I can officially say that we will now have Browns After Dark Sunday night, Monday night, and if that is not enough for you, we got another one on Thursday. So if you've ever said to yourself, hey, I wonder where I can meet with people and talk about the Browns, that is the place for you. Check us out at Browns After Dark on Twitter. The link will be in the description down below. Times will also be posted on that Twitter page, so be sure to give us a follow, turn on your notifications, and come let us know what you think. We want to know your thoughts, so I'm looking forward to seeing you there. Also, just want to let you guys know that this channel is partnered with the Offside Sports Network, and if you go to the Offside's website, you'll find yourself some new DF Sports merch out today. Got a couple hoodies and t-shirts up there, so link will be in the description on that, but I would appreciate it if you guys would go check it out. Appreciate all the support. Follow Offside Sports Network on Twitter. Go check out the website. If you're looking for my stuff, go to Shop Collection. Scroll down, you will find it. Appreciate all the support. All right, what's going on, everybody? So we're going to do something that I've never done on this channel before, and that is talk fantasy football. If you know me, you know I'm not great at fantasy. Listen, we're on our way up, right? You can only go up when you're at the bottom. So that's mentality, new year. You know what I'm saying? A little bit different approach on how I drafted this year. Basically just didn't overthink it like I've done in the past. But anyway, so we're going to be doing this hopefully weekly. We're going to be doing on Wednesday night talking fantasy football, who you should start, who you shouldn't. We're going to talk about the game tomorrow night because the NFL season kicks off tomorrow night. Here we are already. So joining me for the first time ever on this channel, hard to believe, but young Mr. Wax Seal there. Tori, what's going on?
Hello. How are we doing?
We are here. We are here. That is for sure.
We are
Uh,
here.
So, like I said, season kicks off tomorrow. Before we get into anything as far as all the other teams, let's just start off with tomorrow night. As far as fantasy goes, Tori, who are you thinking as far as who you should sit, who you should start? What are we thinking for tomorrow night?
So let's start off with the sitting. Devin Singletary, Cam Akers, both starting running backs for both teams. Both defenses are gross. Buffalo, newly revamped defense, add addition of Von Miller. They still have Russo and some other boys up there. And then obviously the Rams just come off the Super Bowl, and that front four is unbelievable. Singletary is not all that great as a runner. I think they're going to lean more towards James Cook as the season goes on. I still wouldn't start him against the Rams. And then Cam Akers, he came back a little early last year off that Achilles, and I don't think he was 100% there. I still don't think he's 100% because that's a long process to get that fixed. I just don't see either of them having productive nights. And then for the receiving core, Gabe Davis, if you want to start him, I know it's going to be really hard to sit him, but you have to sit him. That Rams secondary is nasty. They're going to make it real hard for the Bills to pass on them. And honestly, even though I'm saying that, I will say start Dawson Knox if you are Dawson Knox fantasy owners. He's going to be slated for a big night. I don't think those linebackers can keep up with him. He's mean. He's tough. He's a good yards after the catch guy.
Just got a new contract, too.
Did just get a new contract.
Something to play for. Good for him. I was a little bit surprised, off topic here as far as fantasy goes, but I was a little bit surprised that Dawson Knox got top 5 tight end money. But a lot of people said that about Njoku, too. So, I mean, I guess we can't talk, but good for him.
He's a mean runner, man. When he gets the ball, he makes things happen. He's not hard, or he's not easy to get down. He's a guy that Josh Allen uses kind of as a safety blanket. Obviously, you have your wide receiver one, who's like the big money guy. You're going to get him the ball and all that stuff. But Dawson Knox, safety blanket, really good hands. And like I've been saying, very mean runner. So he feels safe throwing him the ball. So I would start him if you have him.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be fun tomorrow night. Obviously, it's weird. I don't know. Just for me personally, it doesn't feel like week 1 and week 2 are really the NFL season. But we got football. That's all that matters.
It's exciting, man. And I will say, too, since I didn't give a Rams player, Allen Robinson. I know Matthew Stafford is kind of dealing with that elbow injury, and fantasy experts have been saying that Stafford's injury could linger on throughout the entire season. But Allen Robinson just got a new contract. He's on a new team with a quarterback who can actually play well, who's, got a number 1 receiver next to him in Cooper Kupp. I think it's a really good situation for Allen Robinson. We saw how Odell Beckham thrived in that role after Robert Woods tore his ACL. I think it's a really good spot for Robinson to succeed tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's kind of the theme you're going to hear from me As far as fantasy goes, when you have a guy like that who's a really good number two receiver with that dominant number one, like Cooper Cup is, people underrate getting those touches. And when you have to double cover somebody like a Cooper Cup, and I'll talk about Hunter Renfro here in a minute.
Mhm.
But guys like that, when you got to cover Devontae, when you got to cover Cup, like that's going to open up opportunities for other guys. And I think for fantasy, I think that's going to be a big thing. So, looking past tomorrow night, obviously Sunday kicks off the full slate of NFL football. So just a couple guys, again, that I think are being overlooked. You mentioned one in Allen Robinson. I think that's a great take. Another one is Rondale Moore. Rondale Moore is very available. It seems in a lot of leagues. Christian Kirk now being in Jacksonville, I think Rondale's primed and ready to take that job as far as being that wide receiver. And with DeAndre Hopkins being suspended, that workload's only going to go up a little bit more. And then I talked about it. Hunter Renfro for me is the guy that I'm trying to take in all of my leagues because I like Darren Waller. I do, but I'm just not sure with him getting the contract extension how effective he's going to be. Obviously, Devontae's there. Who's going to be that number two? Who's going to get those extra touches? For me, it's Hunter Renfro. But who do you got as far as kind of the overlooked guys?
Some of the overlooked guys. I mean, it's tough, man, because I feel like there's just so many of them that you don't talk about. One I will say, just to keep an eye out for, DJ Chark for the Detroit Lions. New team. I've been saying this to all my friends. The 2022 Detroit Lions give me 2020 Browns vibes. Same, like loaded offense, just the questionable quarterback. But you're missing Jameson Williams, your first round pick, for at least the first 5-6 games. You have Chark right next to Amon-Ra Brown. So you're going to have to pick your poison with the two. And Chark's really good at the jump balls, which Amon-Ra isn't that good at because, he's a smaller guy. Another guy I would say would be Jahan Dotson. Jahan Dotson, I think, is going to be loved in Washington. Terry McLaurin, clear-cut number one and all that, but now they have a clear-cut number two, so where all the pressure doesn't have to be on McLaurin to get the job done. I know Wentz made Michael Pittman Jr. last year a 1,400-yard receiver. I still think he's going to give McLaurin his numbers, but you have a clear-cut number two, like a guy that you can trust to get the ball in his hands when McLaurin's not open or if he's having an off game. And then the last one, let me think of a last one here. I've thought about this many times. I will go with Elijah Mitchell, the running back for San Fran. And he's one of my guys that I would 100%, if you're having any second thoughts about starting Elijah Mitchell, don't. He's playing the Bears this weekend. The Bears are terrible. Elijah Mitchell's great out of the backfield, running the ball and catching the ball. 49ers have an underrated offensive line. There was kind of a logjam for a while, too, in San Fran at running back. I mean, you had Raheem Mostert, you had Elijah Mitchell, you had Matt Breida, and then you had Trey Sermon, too. They cut Trey Sermon. Mostert's in Miami. So now it's just Elijah Mitchell, and he kind of took over that number one running back spot. I know they're going to use Debo in some of those running packages, but Mitchell's still that guy. He showed everybody last year he's a 3-down back.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as looking at the rest of the slate of games, what do you think as far as bad matchups, guys who people are taking, kind of be that wide receiver 2 or 3 on their fantasy teams or running back 2, or flex? Like, what are the matchups for week 1 that you would avoid? Because for me, I don't know, dude. It's tough because I love DK Metcalf. I love Tyler Lockett. I love guys like that. But at the same time, can you really count on Geno Smith or Drew Lock? That's kind of the tough conversation.
Absolutely. It's not even tough, man. You just have to verbalize that who's throwing the ball to him. Like, Geno Smith's not that great. I mean, Geno Smith's not going to be asked to be your fantasy quarterback, but DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, those names have won people leagues. I mean, they have a new tight end, Noah Fant. I just took Noah Fant 13th round because Geno Smith's his quarterback.
Yeah.
So, honestly, though, I mean, it's the Broncos defense is really good, but the only Seattle player I'd probably start would be Fant, honestly, just because their linebackers are not that great. Another matchup I would avoid, would probably be, let me think here, any of the Steelers wide receivers against the Bengals. It's a hot take because I know they got some guys there, and Deontay, Chase Claypool, Pickens is a starter, but I just can't buy into it because the Bengals, they scheme well against the Steelers. They whooped them last year, and it wasn't even close. If it becomes a throwing matchup for Trubisky or whoever's starting at that point, then the Bengals won. You don't want it to be that, you don't want them to be down that bad later on in the game and have to have Mitch Trubisky force the ball to Claypool or any of those guys, because that's going to cause unnecessary turnovers. So I would 100% stay away from any Steeler wide receiver this week, and I would also stay away from any Jags wide receiver too, just because that Washington defense, they're going to be all over Trevor Lawrence. I don't care how good the offensive line has gotten. You can't ignore Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen, some of those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of Washington, this one hits home because literally 2 minutes after I picked Mr. Brian Robinson Jr. out of Alabama, who was gonna be probably running back one or at least get a big carry, um, he ends up getting shot. Apparently I'm the most unlucky fantasy football owner of all time. I'm sorry if you play for my team. You have the risk of getting shot. I mean, that's just until proven otherwise, that's just what it is now.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you about Antonio Gibson. So he's kind of controversial. A lot of people were staying away from him, but now that Brian Robinson, I don't know how long he's going to be out. I haven't really heard what the um, estimation is, but what do you think about Gibson, and should people be taking him to maybe be like a flex player or running back two? What do you think his workload's going to look like now?
He is, at the very moment, he is running back two material. Depending on how he does, he could drop down to flex or running back three. It really all depends. A report came out today. Ron Rivera said Brian Robinson's already off crutches. So,
Wow.
yeah, he's already off crutches. That leg is rehabbing well. I think he's missing at least the first 5 games. But Gibson has a chance to prove, like, hey, like, I didn't show it in the training camp, but I can show it to you now. Like, I'm a starter in this league. So he plays Jacksonville. It's going to be a really easy game, I think. I think the Commanders win that hands down. And if Gibson runs well, it's going to be a good start for him. But the thing is, I will say, if he does terribly or he does, mediocre at best, he's going to move back into that special teams role to where he was slated to be, because Brian Robinson won that job, but they moved Gibson to kick returns. So he's still like a valuable guy to have because they're going to bring him in on maybe third downs or like certain situational type plays. But even still now with him starting, you still have to worry about J.D. McKissick. J.D. McKissick's their primary pass catching down back. Like, he is a guy, he has better hands than Gibson. He may not run the ball as well, but he has better hands, and Washington likes to dump off those screens to running backs. It's all in the hands of Antonio Gibson at this point, so we'll have to see how he does.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's unfortunate for Brian Robinson. I can't imagine winning that job as a rookie, especially somebody who was picked pretty late too. Like, a lot of people were forgetting about him, and he comes in and wins that job, and then what happens happens. So I'd like to publicly apologize, Brian Robinson. You're not going to watch this, but there's a good chance that you're on my team. That's why it happened. But
It happens.
nevertheless, yeah. But nevertheless, so I think that's going to wrap it up for us here for week 1. So as far as going forward, everybody, if you enjoy this, drop your questions. We want to answer your fantasy questions, who you should start for week 2. Just teams in general. If you want thoughts on your team, drop them. We'll talk about it. Just whatever you want. We're happy to listen and respond. So with that being said, Tori, you got anything else you want to add?
I will add one more thing to your Rondale Moore thing earlier. He is not rostered in a lot of leagues.
Yeah.
He's kind of that guy where it's like, oh, I don't know if I want to take him or not. Or like, he's that guy who's like, oh, if I had one more round, I would have taken him. He's on waivers. And like you said, no Hopkins 6 games. You have an old AJ Green. It's him and then Andy Isabella, who really shined in the preseason.
Who
If you're
they
gonna
wanted to get rid of.
who they wanted to
Yeah.
get rid of and still might. So keep an eye out for Rondale Moore. If he's out there and you need an extra receiver, I would pick up him. I would pick up Jalen Tolbert. Any of those two guys, I would look out for.
Yeah, absolutely. Final thoughts as far as what you guys can expect. Like I said, we're going to be doing these every Wednesday. Tomorrow night, I'm going to be on Down with the Browns with the Tone Man. So Cozy's the only one who hasn't been on that show. So good. But yeah,
Right.
anyway, anyway, everybody let us know your thoughts. Again, drop your questions and we'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.